Alrighty. Take a moment to just kind of come back into myself. We've been keep coming back to this definition of mindfulness, and that's, paying attention in the present moment on purpose and with non-judgment. And really working with this present moment bit here recently, and really staying with body sensations. Body sensations are one of the best anchors for us to stay in the present moment. And it's just so easy to go out there when we're in our thoughts or our emotions, or to get caught up in stories or things or assumptions or beliefs or memories. That being in the physical senses really is one of those great ways of staying present right here, right now. We've talked about this in the past where, being present, being in the now is the only way that we can get anything done, because we can't do anything in the past. We can't do anything in the future. So it's like we have the most power, control, impact by being right here, just being right here. And yet so much of our life is oriented out there for what it is, even in a positive sense. We talked about expectations or hopes or dreams or wantings. It's still out there, and we're missing what happens right through here. I ended up pulling out some of my old yoga books last weekend, and I was just flipping through some of these things I hadn't seen in a while, and I ran across a statement that it just really jumped out at me, and I don't think I ever got it until just here recently. And the statement was this: the greatest barrier to being is becoming. And it's like, I just sat there and I'm like, it's like even the desire to become, to be that, it's like to wanting to be this prevents me from being right here. And in that desire to become, I don't actually ever achieve it. It's like, because I can't actually take action in the becoming. The only way I can take action is in the being. And so I've been really just kind of musing on that and just kind of saying it over and over to myself. It's like the greatest barrier to being is becoming. And then again, just that stepping back and like how important it is to be right here in the present moment, in this now, with my body, just like really, really paying attention to the physical sensations of my body. So that's what we're going to be practicing a little bit today, is using the breath and then staying with the body. And some of those times we go into meditation or breathing, it can get very expansive. Colors can start to come up. You can really start feeling yourself like going bigger out. My challenge is to you guys is when you start noticing that change, like when you're really sinking into something, stay in your body while you do that. So this would be like really staying into those physical sensations, even as that breathing expansiveness can happen. It's a very different type of a sensation. It's like we can really be expansive out there and just really feel this wideness. But it's a really interesting experience to feel that sense of expansion and wideness while also in my hips and really aware of my spine. So that's what I'm going to kind of urge you guys to play with, is really sensing into these physical sensations, even as the breathing deepens or as the mind starts to calm down, really staying in touch with the body. So with that, let's go into our practice. Yeah, so starting with the breath. Maybe just deliberately breathing for a minute. like really noticing an inhale and an exhale. You don't have to force anything to happen. If your inhale wants to be small or exhale wants to be small, great. But just being very deliberate of just that noticing, oh, I'm inhaling. And then I'm exhaling. Starting to notice your body. Noticing the chest, the back, the shoulders. Sometimes it feels like I'm almost like orienting back into myself. I've been up here in my head, or I've been out there in front of me. It's like, oh yes, chest, shoulders, back. Noticing how the breath is now in this moment. And really beginning to feel into the sensation of breathing. So noticing the breath at your nose. Maybe even feeling the movement of air right there at your nose as you breathe. Maybe even feeling the air as it goes from your nose all the way back to your soft palate. Feeling it a little bit there in the back of your throat before moving down into your chest. Starting to notice the front of your chest, the sternum, the ribs. Noticing how your ribs pull out and open to the sides as you breathe. And noticing that place in your back between your shoulder blades. There's just a little tiny widening and opening between the ribs with the inhale, and a relaxing back down with the exhale. And as always, whenever that mind wanders, you just notice it and bring it back to your breath, back to the physical sensations, over and over again, just redirecting, noticing what's happening right here in this moment. You might even notice the wanting to be a particular way, wanting ease in the breathing, or wanting your breath to be a particular way. So you just notice the desiring, and then come back to noticing the sensations that are actually here for you. Whether the breath feels deep and easy, or if it's short and shallow. Just noticing what that breath feels like in your body right now. And moving your awareness down to the edges of your ribs. That's where your diaphragm connects all the way around. You can even use your fingertips to feel right there at the base of your sternum, where the ribs meet. A little bit of pressure with your fingertips on that point as you inhale. You can almost feel the expanding as the diaphragm pulls down and the ribs open up. being aware of right there at that edge where the diaphragm connects with the ribs to the front all the way down to the sides. You can feel them. Can you feel that little tiny tug of the diaphragm as it's contracting and pulling down as you breathe? And this diaphragm connects all the way to the back of your ribs, way down there, right about your waist. You can even put your fingers back there and feel it. As you inhale, can you feel that little bit of opening and expanding as the diaphragm contracts and pulls down and then floats back up with the exhale? And then feeling that diaphragm, and this is a huge muscle, cuts all the way through the center of your body. Noticing how it can contract, it pulls down and pushes a little bit of pressure there on your stomach, your lower belly. And then with the exhale, it relaxes and floats back up under your ribs. Sometimes when I do this, I notice the contracting and pulling down. It almost feels like it's pushing my ribs back and up. And then there's that rocking forward as it relaxes. Just noticing this contracting down and then floating back up in the diaphragm. And then from here, dropping down into your hips, your low back, noticing how you are sitting. Even as you're breathing, you're inhaling and exhaling. Inhaling almost all the way down to the hips, to the sit bones. Exhaling and relaxing. But feeling how your body is sitting upright, how your body is being held by these muscles. You can even experiment, like lean maybe just an inch over to the right. And you can feel those muscles way down there in the hips as they shift to hold your weight, just slightly off balance. And again, breathing all the way down into there. Breathing down into your hips, even as you feel that little bit of tension. When I lean over to the right, I can really feel it in the left, and it almost goes down my left leg. The muscles contracting, holding me upright. And you can notice the other side, just that little tiny bit of a lean, just enough where you can start to feel those muscles activate. The muscles that tell you that you're actually leaning towards the side, that know that you're not up and down. I can also feel it starting to pull around my spine, my tailbone. You can do this leaning forward just a tiny bit. Notice where the muscles in your back start to engage. And then notice your breath. As you inhale and exhale, noticing the diaphragm, noticing the movement of the ribs, and then noticing those little muscles in the back that are keeping you balanced where you are. can also do this with your head, even just that little tiny shift, the little small, just even a millimeter shift of a head tilt, noticing where the muscles engage. Right there at the base of your skull, can you feel that little bit of pulling and tension? And then maybe even feeling the space there where your spine meets your skull. Again, noticing your breath, inhaling, exhaling. I notice for myself when I touch into that place right there, everything starts to get really wide. And it's actually difficult for me to keep my attention right there at the neck, the head. It's like my attention naturally just wants to go outwards. And so it's almost that balancing, holding both, that expanding outwards, but yet staying right there at the base of my skull, the top of my spine, using those little muscle contractions for you to help just keep your finger on those physical sensations. Noticing your breath, inhaling and exhaling. And then again, maybe sinking back down into your diaphragm, feeling the wideness of your diaphragm as you inhale, and it pulls down, pressing down onto the belly, and then it floats back up. And as you do, you might even begin to feel that same sensation pressing down into your hips, your sit bones, your pelvic floor. The inhale, it all pulls down. And with the exhale, it floats back up. Just being aware of the breath. That inhale and the exhale. Again, as the mind wants to wander, go elsewhere, or the senses of expansion start to happen in your body, you stay with the breath and let it expand inside of the breath. Let it expand inside of the hips, or the back, or the head, or wherever it is that you're noticing those physical sensations. Perhaps even beginning to notice that pulling down and then floating up. That happens with the breath. Pulling down with the inhale, and then just a natural light floating up with the exhale. Or perhaps noticing that it's difficult difficult to put your hand on any of the sensations, or that there's a wanting the breath to be a particular way, or physical sensations to be a particular way. And just breathing into the wanting. And that over and over again, just coming back to what is right now. Not what I want to happen, what I hope will happen, but what is happening right here in my body. Anytime you need to move your body just that little bit, whether it's moving the shoulders, the head, the whole torso, just to slightly activate those muscles that keep you upright. You can do that. Play with it. Experiment. Sometimes it's very interesting to just that millimeter shift from one hip to the other hip. How even just that slight little shifting from one side to the other, I can feel it behind my eyes. There's just that internal knowing of what is up and down and side to side. And how the body just knows how to orient itself. And then taking that moment to just even cognitively rehearse to yourself, I'm here. I'm here right now. This is what it feels like to be right here. Not leaning forward, not leaning backwards, not leaning over my shoulder or ahead of myself, but right here. In this breath that pulls down and floats up. This is what it feels like to just be here. Sometimes it can be just a sense of like, oh, just being here isn't anything magical. It's just here. I'm just right here in my body. I'm fully here. And then letting all of your attention go into your breath. Finishing where we started. Really feeling the inhale and the exhale. Again, maybe taking those deliberate breaths. Feeling the lungs. Taking a few more breaths. When you feel ready, opening your eyes.